This is what did you, as in what did you say, what did you do, what did you think? I bring you another commentary broadcast, this time on a game called Spacelords, formerly known as Raiders of a Broken Planet. I'm about to, after the next match here, go to, looks like, level 199 here, which will open up my forward skill level 20. And that's fairly significant because that is the maximum skill level for the weapons you can have in this game. And, based on the way that they have the game skill gap set and the way of dealing with the enemy difficulty, and you can go to your quick guide here and pull up a lot of information that that you just saw here as far as your progress. But when it comes to dealing with the enemies and their difficulty, having your weapons leveled to their max, to me, is your best way to go, simply because of the fact that your MMR up here basically dictates how difficult the game will be. There's a good amount of information within this little quick guide here, which does which will cover a lot of that sort of stuff. And there's been a lot of videos out there by other broadcasters which have been very informative on everything you can think of in the game. There are a few particulars that are kind of spread out between various different videos and various different blog postings. So you've got to kind of do a little bit of homework to cover everything. But bottom line is that forward skill 20 is where like I said, you get to open up your biggest, baddest attributes, which are listed here. And if you have the funds, you can actually upgrade the weapon to whatever your current standing. Right now I'm at 19, but like I said, I want to get to the max before I build anything. That's why I just have these blueprints here. Once I hit forward skill 20, I will go ahead and build those weapons. So let me go ahead and queue up a mission or two. I just like preserving the memory of what I do here, my experience with the game, and hopefully sharing the experience can benefit others along the way as well. This is a bit unscripted, so I apologize about all the jibber jabber in between main points. Right now, what you see me doing here is selecting the mission to be a raider in these missions here that I've unlocked. And I'm doing this based off of my XP, my potential to gain XP, basically, by maintaining what they call your equilibrium. There are so many little things about this game that need to be taken into account, but certain things are more pertinent than others. To me, the sooner you understand things, the better, though. But this is your equilibrium here, and it's split amongst being a raider or an antagonist. And in this game, you can have an antagonist where a person aggresses upon the other four individuals who are raiders, and they can antagonize their mission. They can, you can pick and choose how you might want to play it, and that's another topic altogether there. It's just a brief overview for those who may not know. But bottom line is, when you level up, you can level up with a certain amount of points towards being a raider or an antagonist. Once you satisfy those points, you will then, once you level up, okay, gain equilibrium towards being an antagonist and a raider. For me, I've been pulling my bar here towards being an antagonist simply because I'm trying to maintain the maximum bonus that you can get from your equilibrium, which is 40%. Um, so depending on how fast you might want to try to gain your XP, and it's rather important to try to maintain your equilibrium. You can kind of cheat the system a little bit by joining a space guild, as they call them, for 5,000 gold, which is the currency in game. This is where you go for your space guild information here, and you can choose to create or disband, because I have one now, simply because being in a space guild by yourself allows you to control your equilibrium balance more directly, because every time you group up with someone, your equilibrium balance could change if you're not in a space guild. If you're in a space guild, it will adjust according to the players in the space guild and how they may decide to play the game, whether they're a raider or an antagonist. But running it sort of solo in a guild still does allow you to matchmake with other players, with any mission that you've unlocked. And of course, unlocking the missions, you have to have a certain level to obtain various different missions. And certain missions, even if you have completed it, you may have to achieve a certain score rating in it, which could be a little challenging, depending on which mission it is, and how far you've leveled up by the time you need to get to that mission to achieve whatever score it is. But yeah, I had a mission where excuse me, I had to get an 8.0 out of 10, and on an average, well, this is before their last update, running with random groups, you would get anywhere from 6, maybe 7 points out of 10. Lately, since the update, you get anywhere from 7 to about 8 some points out of 10 if you got a halfway decent random group. But here we are in a match here, and with some random folks, and there's no in-game chat, by the way, so unless you have some kind of network chat set up, then there's no real communication outside of non-verbals. Whatever characters you have unlocked, you can use, and minus whatever character may be pertinent towards the storyline that the mission deals with. But to sum it up, this, to me, this game is a game of chance, from one end to the other. It's like taking a casino and then flipping it into a video game without calling it a gambling thing. But what I mean by that is that just to select which character you might want is a gamble, simply because there's a limited selection of characters, and they're all very unique, and you can't have more than one of the same character in the game, in a mission rather, unless the other character is an antagonist. If the other character is an antagonist, then they can choose whoever they want, regardless of whatever player, whatever character your team may have. But yeah, so therein lies your first dealing of the gamble that entails with everything in the game. Whether it's achieving a blueprint, which you need to build a particular weapon, there's a gamble in whether or not you will get the blueprint you're going after, as well as whether or not you'll get the blueprint at all, based on whether you win the match, whether there's some kind of point or matches needed to be won that are required, Um, there's a host of factors there with that, which I'm going to cover more of these things in detail in some individual videos. Bear in mind, I'm not used to playing this and talking at the same time, so I'm doing the best I can on the fly, so to speak. Um, but yeah, the game can be quite aggressive, based on your MMR, which is your matchmaking rating. It tends to group you with other individuals based on that. Um, and that also too sets your skill gap difficulty. Your enemy ad count, how hard they hit you, how difficult the boss may be, and each mission has a boss segment, so to speak, involved with it. But and within the mission, it's always a gamble as to what MMR you may actually go in as, because that's going to be set based on whatever group is in the mission. That has nothing to do with your space guild or anything like that, or your equilibrium. That is a separate entity on its own. It's not to say that it can't be affected. Oh, yeah, I fell off the edge. But yeah, it can be affected by how well you do or how poorly you do. If you do poorly, your MMR drops. It seems to go up a percentage based on your wins in the game, but your match itself can have a separate difficulty other than your own MMR, unless you run the mission solo. But essentially, it's going to take the 4 people that are in the mission and average out their match difficulty. And so for example, my MMR right now is 29%. So I could actually wind up being match made with others and having a match that's actually at an MMR 40%. So and your MMR basically does correlate to how many matches you win on an average. And so with me having an MMR of like 29%, you're like, oh my god, you only win like 29% of matches. Well, I lose a good amount on purpose, unfortunately. That's another aspect of this game which isn't that cool in my opinion, that it benefits you to lose simply to keep the game tolerable in its difficulty settings, even if you are match made with other individuals with a higher MMR. There are a few points definitely of concern that I have about the game. Like, would I recommend it? Yeah, but with caution. Do your homework about it and take note to anything that anybody says that you should take care with or do first or do last, because it's so far from what I understand from the community at large that is trying to help others. They do so with a very conscious mind and a lot of gaming experience to say, hey, this is what's up, and like, for example, I would definitely recommend waiting in this game to build various different blueprints for weapons, simply because it's very difficult to get weapon blueprints, and again, you're playing into some interesting odds with doing so, in which case you could get very frustrated in the process of trying to achieve them, and therefore you might not want to have to go after said blueprints more than what you need than necessary. Now, bear in mind, if you do get the blueprint and hold on to it and treat it as a reward for when you get to, in my opinion, at a minimum, wait till you get to forward skill 10 or better yet 12, when you actually open up a better set of skill points towards your weapons, basically, is what that is. And if you really want to be, frugal and really want to avoid the chase after blueprints, then I would suggest waiting till forward skill 20. I mean, seriously. I mean, what's odd is that your basic damage in your weapons, your basic aspects to your weapons are sufficient enough to deal with the enemies as you level up. Simply because there are other factors that do improve with your character as you level up, like how much damage you can output with your melee attacks, how much armor you have as a character from other melee attacks or damage. Um, so there are a lot of reasons why you, even if you had a better weapon, your character itself wouldn't be able to survive very well in your higher MMR difficulties. I mean, they're always open to everyone, whenever you start the game, which is part of the issue at hand. I mean, you've got people walking in this game like myself, and you have a tendency in life to want to do well at things, and so you're like, oh, I want to get my MMR up close to 100%. I want to feel like I'm doing well all the time. And yeah, once you hit MMR 40, you start to feel a very ugly sting in the difficulty of this game. I mean, it's absolutely absurd that you start to get that at such an early point. I honestly feel like they should double that situation. You should only start feeling it like you feel it at MMR 40 at around MMR 80, and basically leave that last 20%, as they do with, the last 40% as they do with when you hit it at 40%. Excuse me. Have the MMR rating set at, like I said, at 80, where you deal with the difficulty you have at MMR 40. There we go. I got my words together. Because it's absolutely absurd, though, to kind of look at your achievements and realize that even at your best, without trying to deliberately lose or whatever, an antagonist match, that's typically the preference of when you decide to lose, unless you're with a group and you all want to lose together, you agreed on that situation. But sincerely, without trying to lose, I mean, the best I've ever achieved without running across what I would consider to be a ridiculous brick wall, was about like 46 MMR, I guess, or whatever. I've played on higher MMRs, but I've had better teams with me when I have to be able to deal with the situation better. But you're taking longer to kill enemies. Enemies are, the game, it's not just in like the damage or the direct damage output in which the game becomes more difficult. The game will become more difficult in these various different modifiers to their damage. Like, the various different missions will kind of automatically have certain elements where, oh shit, their weapons push you. But if you go up in difficulty with your MMR, you're more than likely to have that situation happen to you where they're knocking you off the edge of the map with your weapons. As soon as you get your olive, which is very important in the game, which you see this player here this player here rolling up with the number 3 there has 3 of the olive. And you get that from various different enemy types in the game, like the one I keep trying to run up to, like this one here, how he's glowing, that provides olive. But I always have a teammate that wants to take the olive, so I can't ever really show you that point. But either way, olive is very important to have, and maintain and use in the game. And within the instruction guide, that's there too. So or the quick guide, as they call it. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Trying to see what's going on here. But yeah, basically, I think I was talking about the MMR and just this skill gap that's sort of presented to you as a player, in the fact that you feel like you're failing essentially the entire time you're playing the game, um, because typically passing, for crying out loud, is at least 70 percentile is typically passing in most um, grading systems that I know of. Um, so, the fact that even at what and what's interesting is my best is about what I've noticed the average of the community fall into play. Like, the average MMR for the community, it seems like, from what I've run across in almost 200 levels, is, it fluctuates between an MMR of 35 and about 50, roughly. There are outliers, of course, which are more or less, but that tends to be, in my opinion, the average that is there. But so yeah, I did achieve getting some olive from one of the enemies. Um, but yeah, once you build up your stack on that, that's right, I was talking about building up the stack on that as well. Um, you can you have other access to various different other abilities too, or bonus abilities rather, that can be selected for the character. But yeah, like I said, this is how you use the olive. But again, they've got a very twisted idea about setting a challenge and what that challenge entails. I mean, most gaming companies nowadays work on the handicapped version of providing a challenge. We're going to put you in a handicap situation. In other words, we're going to make your environment more capable than you are, and so therefore you have a handicap. So which, and the thing is that I do deal with the handicap. I deal with chronic pain from what they call adrenal fatigue syndrome, and I use gaming to help me cope with that. I'm in my mid-40s. I lived a good life before going through all this, and very productive, and did a lot. All I can say is that I think I have a very good, fair assessment of what a challenge in life is when you do not have a handicap versus when you do. And I don't think if anybody has a handicap is going to turn around and tell you that their day was challenging in the regard of the way gaming kind of presents it. Yes, I'm sure whatever they went through was a challenge, as every day for me is a challenge, but I don't look at it as challenging and life affirming, and it's now building some degree of self-worth. It's like, dude, I'd rather not be in chronic pain. But so yeah, it's real interesting. But I found that lowering my MMR by playing as an antagonist is a better way to go than to try to sabotage a mission with randoms, or try to find people to group up to lower my MMR with losses in the game, just so that the game is more tolerable and not excessively punishing. Like I said, it's a very odd choice for them to make based on how much content they have. That's my personal opinion. The reason why they're doing this like this is, it's based on the content they have, and wanting to provide a challenge in between making content and keeping all audiences appeased, I guess. But again, I think if they just increased or adjusted uh, their MMR rating and skill gap requirement, um, it'd be far more friendlier to new players as well as older players who just want to just get on the game to enjoy it, and it's like you're not getting on a game to lose, and that's part of the reason why, like, I might play the position I play when I play an antagonist, because I'm not really an antagonistic kind of individual. So to me, the aspect of the antagonist is almost is unnecessary for me in the game. But it is a component that I'm sure is not going anywhere. So, I basically give people a chance to say, hey, we want to be cool with the antagonist. We're not trying to antagonize the antagonist. And if they're cool, then I'll let them win. I mean, it helps me bring my MMR down. They kill me like 3 times while I'm jumping around, because jumping as an antagonist with your character is sort of like a community nonverbal communication to say I'm friendly. I'm a friendly antagonist. I'm going to basically let you win. you know, if you want to kill me, I guess that's your prerogative. And a lot of people handle that point differently. For me, I'm like, well, if you can't be friendly back, then I'm going to antagonize you, because losing too much doesn't benefit me. Because once you slip below, like, I'd say MMR 29, 20, actually MMR like 25, I'd say, the other players that you're with tend not to be as good as where the mean or majority of the community tends to fall into play, which is generally between MMR 35 and like MMR 50 roughly. But I lost a few more matches than I intended, and my MMR slipped a little bit lower than it typically does. But it'll go up very quickly, and that's part of the issue, to go up faster than what your character as a in its competency can actually handle. But luckily, I've achieved this goal here for Forge Skill 20. The next, or for me at the moment, last major milestone, is to get to level 200 to unlock the last card slots for the characters in here. But yeah, like I said, other information, a basic guide to the game and it's the way it's set up. Like, for example, here's the information about the equilibrium, is there. But like I said, it doesn't really say blatantly like how it's affected. Like, for example, for every one antagonist mission you might run, it weights on the side of the equilibrium bar like 4 times as much. So if I run a raider mission, well, if I put it like this, when I level up, and I level up as a raider, which it says here, so if I want to level up a raider, I need 6,835 XP. So if I level up as a raider and get satisfied XP requirement, regardless of the fact that my XP to get to the next level is greater than that, I need to just satisfy that XP requirement. After that, I can do whatever I want. I can run as a raider or as an antagonist. It won't matter. I'm still going to level up with whatever affinity I've earned XP for. So, like, but if I level up one raider point, because that's what it does. It'll give you one degree towards being a raider, bringing this middle bar to the left. What happened is that when you run an antagonist mission, it would slide your bar 4 points to the right. And once you get to the middle, as you see me here, you get your maximum XP. And of course, each point or each notch down, you lose a percentage in XP. So like I said, 4 points of an antagonist knockback would take you to 36 XP percent. But what's interesting is once you get to the middle, it's not it takes it takes more than what you think to kind of push the bar towards the antagonist, simply because once it gets in the middle, your bar is also going to move based on time, but move towards being a raider. So when you're not on the game, say your bar is dead middle, or even while you're in game playing and you haven't leveled, during that time your bar is still slipping. And by the time you try to get to one level, you will have slipped at least 1% as a raider. And so you could level up as an antagonist, and even though it gives you more than 1% towards being an antagonist, there's some middle area here where you'd actually have to level up again before this pushes up to being a raider by 1%. you'd have to level up as being an antagonist faster than this pushes you towards being a raider for it to actually give you that 36% XP as an antagonist, in which case you then have to do probably about 5 times as many raider missions to get back to the middle. Or you could cheat the system by, starting your own space guild, and that costs 5,000 gold. And that's what I've done, to try to maintain my XP, to give me as much XP as possible, um, as well as, purchase gold. XP boost, excuse me, with gold. So I have put some money in the game, and, but as you can see here, and see, one of the things I want to do is take this currency here, as you buy mercury points with real money and then convert the mercury points to gold. There's several weapons I want to build, and because I used all my gold to level up, I only have enough to really build one gold blueprint weapon, which is the better of your weapons more typically, and maybe one of the regular blueprinted weapons, which is cheaper. But what I want to do is try to build four of the gold weapons if I can. I'm hoping that I'm going to have enough to do so, simply because I like a couple of characters, and I haven't made up my mind on what would maybe be my main character. And I don't know. I tend to favor Daldrin here for the most part on a lot of things, but there's other characters which, as you see me play with Hive, you know, offer a different gameplay experience and handle the enemies differently. All the enemies are different, to be honest with you. And like I said, there's a whole lot of other videos out there which give some very thorough, in-depth review over these characters, which are it's very talented broadcasters that are out there that do cover a lot of it. Excellent information. But speaking of one of my favorite characters, like I said, I wanted to go ahead and build out one of his weapons here, the Bloody Mary. As you can see, I pretty much stopped building weapons. I think it was like Forge Skill 15. I think I may have built a weapon or two, just to kind of keep me going with some of the other characters I hadn't built weapons with. Like, for example, Mika here, I built one weapon for her at Forge Skill 13. And, Hive, I wasn't sure which weapon to go with, so I wound up building two of her regular weapons here. And as you see, like I said, the regular advanced blueprint, as they call it, or you might even see it as basic, is 36,000 gold. And to build their basic rare blueprinted weapons is 90,000. So it's not cheap. And like I said, going after the blueprints could be a very difficult and somewhat of a pain, because sometimes you got to win a mission 3 times in a row. Sometimes there's a point requirement. I mean, there's various different conditions, but yeah, so I'm trying to give myself something to enjoy here while I take the game far more casually than I have, because there's other things I want to do, other games I want to play, and I've kind of given this one here about as much as I kind of care to on a grinding tip. I mean, it's been rather strenuous to the point, dealing with a host of frustrations. Not a whole lot of game technical difficulties per se, but to me it almost feels like a technical difficulty when they've got the MMR settings as high as they do, as low as they do in relationship to the difficulty that is present. It just doesn't make any sense. It is completely unrewarding, because it's like the better you do, the harder the game is on you, and it's not more of a challenge per se. It's a bombardment and a clusterfuck of shit all around you. It's like, it reminds me of like Space Invaders or Contra in its hardest level, with enemies and projectiles and all kinds of things just flying all across the entire screen. Wow. At max forge level, that's the best you can do on this weapon. Wow, interesting. Well, we'll see how it goes. Um, but yeah, with the weapons, it's best to kind of go with your caliber. For this example here, then your hero, killer, and then exterminator for regular enemies. Um, so we'll go ahead and build our forge skill 20 Bloody Mary. But yeah, I mean, like, even with having these better weapons and being able to have certain better cards, unless you have the crackerjack team, because no one character can really do it all. Just not it's just not happening, especially on the higher MMR levels, in my opinion. And you can, once you complete a mission, run a mission solo. They call it training solo, in which case you can earn in gold. But to me, I can't understand why it would even be worth it. I've completed one solo before on light, just for shits and giggles, but the amount of time it took, it just wasn't worth it. Um, and you don't get opportunities for blueprints, or extra bonus gold, for just going in as the predetermined skill set that will you know correlate your MMR with in regard to the rest of your team. Um, but yeah, I wanted to build a couple of other weapons. But yeah, I mean, it is rather creative. The game itself, it's interesting what they've done with what looks to be some old assets from various different other games. Um, my hat is off to them on their character creativity. Um, and the dialogue in the game for the most part is quite enjoyable. Although I will say they're kind of over the top with the profanity just a bit. And as far as ethnic representation is concerned, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's a little lackluster, especially in regard to the one black female character they have. She's got to be the most sexualized character in the game, and I mean, like, when you first hear her name in reference to her, they refer to as this big ass bitch, and it's like, okay, all right, now y'all maybe push this a little too far. But whatever, though. I mean, it's made in Spain, so I got maybe they have a different cultural outlook on how they may regard other ethnicities. Not really sure. Um, but either way, oh shoot. But yeah, I meant to hit build on that. But yeah, this is the character I'm talking about here. Yeah, as you can see, they have aliens and humans and other aliens and freaky cyborgy type people and stuff like that and it's interesting accents they give these foreigners, is these aliens, like they give one of the aliens an Australian accent, which is kind of awkward. But yeah, so this is the black female, quite voluptuous, very um, I don't know, black exploitation 70s kind of look to her, which is cool. It's fly, but like I said, they're um, the other characters just aren't as hypersexualized as she is, nor as crudely referenced in the game. It's a shame that they don't want to provide a better, other more positive cultural references. And I mean, you can have like this character here, even though he's not Asian, they do have him with an Asiatic, Japanese kind of look or something, but they don't have a lot of cultural representations going on here. But there's room for some new characters, so who knows what's up. This character seems to be about the other closest example to any other ethnically inclined individual. But anyway, back to building this weapon here. But yeah, like I said, even with these weapons, once I have them built out, because the game goes to such ridiculous nature with the way they want to be difficult, it's only but so far that I'll probably want to go with my MMR just to keep it tolerable, um, in regard to, the difficulty, the kind of players I'm able to group up with on a regular basis. And because to me, it's just kind of, I mean, it's kind of horseshit to have an enemy spawn on you and then insta kill you within a fraction of a second. Like if you're, I mean, your odds of being able to counter the situation are very, very minimal. Um, and it's a shame that they do things like that. Like, you like I said earlier, you get this stack of 5 olive, and all of a sudden, it's like your character just dropped an enemy behind it that's there to insta kill it. I've heard broadcasters reference it as the 5 stack curse or something. It's just that you build more aggro, so the game is just going to be hot on you and has no regard for whether you're in a spawn point or not. I mean, the enemy will spawn kill you like over and over and over again. I mean, you get next to an edge. If the enemy can push you with its weapon damage, it's going to knock you off the edge as soon as you get next to it. Don't even think it's going to hesitate. Especially once you get to certain MMR ratings. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, past certain MMR ratings is of say 45, they don't do it that much. But once you pass that point, and it may, these things may adjust over time. I hope they do adjust and towards a better end, actually. Um, the enemies are going to be, doing every little cheap little thing they can, in my opinion, and they can outrun you. I mean, they're far more competent. You know what I mean? They outnumber you. A lot of enemies are just as competent as you are in their instant ability to take you down. So yeah, it just becomes obnoxious, and of course, you're dealing with a boss generally at the same time, or some type of an objective to attend to, which could be damaged, or you might not be able to do whatever because the ads are just bombarding you and overrunning you. And hold on here. I don't want to mess this up here. We want to do. Oh, hold on. So we can do critical damage multiplier. This is the reload speed. And this is this barrier weapon, which is able to shoot out barriers, which kind of protects the user of this weapon. But the faster you reload, the faster you can kind of get to the point. But from what I recall, they've nerfed this a little bit, whereas the barrier takes a certain amount of time to recharge. So it's not really based off of necessarily how fast you reloaded. So shot damage. So basically it's got a baked-in crit chance. So all you can do is adjust its reload speed, its caliber, and how much damage is multiplied. Well, from what I understand, this weapon here requires a certain amount of time for the barrier to recharge. But from what I understand, your ability to reload this weapon quickly will impact that, as well as being able to return fire. So we're going to try to go with this here, I think. See what we get. But yeah, I mean, it. Like I said, I honestly think that they should stretch this whole MMR difficulty thing out by double what it currently is. Um, because I mean, I've seen a few videos of folks broadcasters that have taken it to MMR 100, and it's absurd. I mean, like, it's no way they can maintain that sort of situation, in my opinion, without having a crackerjack team with them every time. And if you're just playing casually, and perhaps if you're running as an antagonist, in which case, you know, you're not dealing with the game difficulty, you're dealing with other player difficulty, it might serve them some good. But to be honest with you, it seems like the higher your MMR, the fewer the ads are on the map, the and they're not quite as aggressive, I guess you could say, as they would be if you didn't have an antagonist. Now, that's once you start getting past, in my opinion, past MMR 40 and some change. 40, it seems like under 40 and some change in your MMR 40, 45%, whatever, it's somewhere in there. Um, the game maintains its same difficulty roughly that you'd have whether you had an antagonist in there or not. But once you start to get somewhere between 40-45% win ratio, essentially is what that's sort of looking at. Um, it seems like the AI gets a little bit more stupid, and um, you know, they're um, fewer in number as well. Like, I'm going to put up some footage that I was able to save where I think I was dealing with an MMR of maybe like around, I don't quote me on this, but it might have been around between 40 and 50. I'm playing an antagonist, and MMR for the match gets set based off of everyone participating in the match. So, there's me as the antagonist, and then there's the four other individuals. So, yeah, for whatever reason, at the end of this boss battle, the map seemed to only spawn at a maximum of three enemies, three ads, essentially, beyond the boss. It was ridiculous. Like, I'm like, okay. And, I don't, I didn't have any good weapons really to really deal with the situation. I mean, put it this way, they were so they weren't distracted, and they had so little to occupy them that they, 3 out of 4 could just bombard me at any time. So it was kind of like a pointless situation to really antagonize that mission successfully. Especially, and they were fairly good, and all you need to be is fairly good, in my opinion, to handle most antagonists at most skill levels, at most weapon levels. Now, once they start getting to the skill level 20, and you won't really be able to determine that right away or readily, simply because, well, now they've changed the way your information displays to other players, unless they're in your guild or in your group. Um, because if you're not in a guild, when you log onto the game, you'll be just randomly assigned to a group of 20 to 30 people or something like that. In which case, if you look at your little list of things, you can see what their level is. But outside of that, you're just going to see what their rank is, and see at the bottom, my current, or tier rather, my current tier is 1, and you start out at tier 0, you go to tier 6, tier 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you know but these other benefits here, like 50% extra armor, 50% extra resistance, 100% extra brute force, those things don't come to their max until near 170, 180, something like that. I can't remember. But as far much past, level 100, which is, I believe, is where you get to tier 1. Um, And so it's just because you see somebody with tier 1 doesn't mean that they have all these other perks as well as the weapons to kind of back up the point of the tier. You have to actually level up another 100 levels in order to do that, at which point they should have another tier or some other kind of demarcation for that point. I believe they're going to come up with something like that, but at the moment, there's nothing to help distinguish the threat level that you might be involved with when you deal with an antagonist, for example, or how competent or capable your other teammates may be going into a mission as a raider. Um, but while I wrap this up, we'll see if something comes up. Either way, as a raider or as an antagonist, I tend not to antag on blueprint missions because really people. I don't think people are playing this game to lose. And the antag, even if they don't win, can drag a mission out well past what it's worth to be involved in. I mean, you can have, depending on the team, depending on the antag, they can stretch out a mission 40 some odd minutes even. It's crazy how far an antag can stretch out a mission. Um, so, you know, I would say take care with the point because it's nothing to take lightly. And I mean, if you get an antagonist that's going to be cool with you, and like, hey, I'm trying to lower my MMR, go ahead and win, or I'm taking a break, whatever, then I would suggest not antagonizing the antagonist and not killing them and not doing things to provoke them. Um, like I said, jumping in front of the antagonist or when you see kind of as a universal nonverbal to say, hey, I don't mean you no harm. I'm hoping you're going to not mean us no harm. You got various different antagonists that may play that differently, where they might be like, okay, well, I'm only going to interfere with your mission just enough to antagonize you, but I'm still going to let you win. And there could be any kind of level and variable to all that as far as how you can antagonize them. So you're about to see how I deal with antagonizing, you know, uh, players when I play that route. I just did this randomly just to throw it up, but like if I wanted to maintain my equilibrium at 40%, this is what I would do actually, because I need to earn 1,838 points of antagonist infinity to level up as an antagonist, as well as the fact there are some character cards and faction cards which are locked behind, you know, whether you're playing as an antagonist versus playing as a raider. Um, I don't think I changed the weapon in my build. Oh, wait, maybe I did. Okay, we got a build with the weapon. Okay, cool. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. I'll double check when we get in the mission. But yeah, typically on my antag missions, I tend to like Daldrin. I just kind of more subterfuge. But again, not having better weapons makes antagging very difficult. With Daldrin, you don't necessarily have to rely on your weapon depending on how you play them. But again, like I said, I like to be cool with the antag situation. If the players are going to be cool with it, I give them like 3, sometimes 5 chances to be cool with me as an antag. You have a choice not to spawn in the game, but again, this is me trying to participate with the gameplay in regard to my moral structure, if that makes sense. And so for me,
come on, kid. Don't waste this opportunity.
like I said, not everybody knows that jumping around means that the antagonist means no harm. But the thing is that if you try to use just a little bit of common sense, and you see somebody with the character just sort of jumping in one spot like this, like that should tell you that they don't mean any harm. Now they could be baiting you in, true, but You could go ahead and test the situation out. Go over to them and start jumping up and down too. If they don't attack you, then guess what? They're not trying to mislead you about their action. But see, that person there, they just want to shoot at me. They just see red and they're not thinking. And so I'm trying to dodge them, letting them know I don't want to be killed. But they're not thinking to themselves like, oh, he doesn't want to be killed. He's trying to be cool with me. Instead, they think that I'm trying to be hard to kill, and that's not the point. And so, typically I let them go ahead and kill me 3 times, but the thing is that it annoys me that, people don't try to pay attention to what's actually going on in front of them and what the person's actually doing. So yeah, I'll try to restart that scenario and just let them kill me. I just kind of reacting while I'm talking, so it, like I said, it irritates me when they do that. My gut reaction is to take them out, but again, I try to just jump up and down in one spot, and I do let them kill me anywhere from 3 to 5 times, trying to hopefully get them to understand that this is a universal way of saying I'm trying to be a friendly antag, but they typically don't get the point. And see this person here, they don't get the point. So I'm just going to stand there and let them shoot me. And, there we go. So yeah, so they'll, most likely they're not going to get the point. And like, you do have emotes, and the emotes take a certain amount of time to do or to gesture. So like, you might not have the time to really emote enough to let them know that you don't mean them any harm. But, trying to find, I generally choose the same location. I jump up and down, hopefully letting them know that I don't mean any harm. Without talking, I do have enough self-control not to fight back the way I did earlier and taking them out. But see, they why would they think that a player would just do this as a means of antagonistic, which is weird to me. Like, everybody that you see in the match here hasn't been playing the game very long. But if they've been playing the game long enough, they should understand that an antagonist would come over there and kill them right now. See that guy right there? He's wounded. He can't fight back, really. He could try to shoot me if he wanted to, but it wouldn't really work very well. I'd kill him long before he'd had a chance. Heck, my weapon now is powerful enough where I could kill him from a distance with one shot. But yeah, so they still don't get the point. And I try to defend myself to a degree, like what you see me doing, trying to let them know, no, I don't want you to kill me. I'm trying to show you that this is a way of being a friendly antag. Do unto others as you would have undone to you, type of a thing, But they don't seem to get the point. So they're about to kill me a second time here. And I'll give them one more chance just for shits and giggles. And so like I said, so once I give them this final chance, and then they show me that they want to fight, basically. That's what you're showing. You want to fight. You want someone, you're scared. You're fearful. You're showing me a lot of things right now. So I could either choose not to spawn in the game again, or I could go ahead and fight them as an antagonist. Now, I could fight them as an antagonist and feel sorry for them because they low level and be like, well, I'll still let you win because I want to lower my MMR. But again, lowering your MMR with so much doesn't really help. And more than likely, you're going to run across the brick wall, which is going to keep you from raising your MMR with so much anyway. So, they just don't get the point, which is fine. So as soon as they kill me again, I'm going to go ahead and antagonize them as I would do anybody. I'm going to show them what a real antagonist will do to them. Now, whether I win, I'm not that worried about whether I win or not. But I'm going to antagonize them as an antagonist should. And if you're really being strong or being an antagonist, you start from the very beginning. As soon as the match is on and you play the cutscene out. Make them wait through the cutscene. Seriously, antagonize them from jump. Don't hesitate. You know, every aspect in which you can exploit a person, you exploit them. You know what I mean? You know, so, you know, do whatever you want. And the thing is that to know the mission, if you're actually going to play as a strong antagonist, helps a lot. Like, I've got time. You know, I mean, there's another phase to this mission, in which case they're far more vulnerable to being attacked. The objective is set up in a way to be aggressed upon and attacked. And see, I'm not even using my new weapon that I got here. Okay.
Amazing kill.
But yeah, see, nobody jumped back, nobody hesitated in wanting to kill me, so I'm not trying to have any mercy or any compassion for the situation. And sadly, they could be going after blueprints. They could be doing a lot. They could be, you know, they could be going after that goal to get that weapon that they want. You know, but instead of having any kind of concern or regard, you know, they just want to just attack without having any kind of common sense about the situation. Bitch, please. Oh, damn, we went for it at the same time. But yeah, it's always a rock, paper, scissors, you know, situation. You know, with the hand-to-hand combat, there's always a percentage chance of losing greater than what you have in winning. You know, and a lot of people get very overinflated with their ego and their manner of thinking that, you know, they're the shit, in my opinion. You know, I try to keep it cool on that point myself. Okay, see, I can't. I don't have a second to take aim.
Well done. Shit. The old man has lost his shield temporarily. Now he's more vulnerable than ever. Shit! No! They've taken the old man. Stop them!
But yeah, so this next part is where they'll have more of an issue. But yeah, I like the damage on that weapon, though. I mean, that's alright. But yeah, I know it's not going to be what it needs to be to really handle higher MMRs, I tell you that. Like I said, they just really make it not worth it.
Get with it.
It's sad, true. But yeah, you know, folks will find out and judge for themselves. It might just be what people really want. I mean, it's like, oh my god, this is a challenge I was waiting for all my life. But, you know, for me, it's not really the thing.
Take out the old man if you get the chance. I hate him.
surprised.
Their shuttle is back. Apply yourself to your work, my young apprentice. Incredible.
And it's always a rock, paper, scissors sort of a thing. Oh, crying out loud. Really? I hate when I wind up in the spawn point. Number one, I don't like the spawn kill enemies, and number two, you don't realize sometimes that that's where you are, and people that you can take out just come up behind you and take you and just immediately spawn kill you. You know, they spawn in and kill you. You know, versus you killing them when they spawn in. You know, I personally don't like it either direction with that sort of thing. Oops, missed that one. But yeah, I should be messing with the objective a little bit more too before they get down there to the other end. I'm used to playing Doldrin without really focusing on his weapon play, simply because the weapon has been kind of shitty. And there we go. Coming around the mountain they come.
The old man's shield is down. Now's your chance.
Not aiming for the old man. Shit.
Shit! The old man's got his shield back and he is advancing.
I wasn't aiming for him. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really pressed about whether I win this one or not, but, you know, I'm gonna fuck with him. And I'll probably wrap up the recording after that. But yeah, various different particulars I may make another video about to just sort of highlight a little bit more plainly, because, you know, the game is a trip. And I mean, certain warnings about in regard to it do need to be taken into account.
Impressive.
But yeah, he's going to be, he's this one here is the big dog of the group, Mr. Macho. I'm going to be the one to get you. But yeah, you can always divide and conquer.
Do something now, or they'll get away. The old man is going to try some sort of spell. You don't have much time.
But yeah, this character here turns into smoke and goes to a different location. Eric, there he is. Thank you.
Perfect.
I don't think I can get a clear line of sight on this old dude, unfortunately. What? Did I hit the old guy? You see, why would they want me to target the old man? Like, I'm trying to target the enemy, you know, the regular players. But then, if I get near the old dude, I wind up hitting one of them. I mean, excuse me, when I try to target one of the players, I wind up hitting the old guy. That's not helpful. See, they're very well protected right now. I can't act. I don't have line of sight on the old man, so I got to go about this the best way I can. See, I hit the old man again.
The old man has lost his shield temporarily.
See, I wasn't even targeting the old man. Damn, I should have stood by the old dude and blew up the top. Whatever. But yeah, like I said, I ain't necessarily trying to take nothing from them. I'm just trying to let them know, like, hey, I'm not here to get beat up on, you know, just because I'm being a friendly antag. Yeah, I played that one wrong. Wish I could spawn in with some kind of better line
The
of
old man's
sight.
got his shield back and he is advancing.
But yeah, they're gonna win this one, I'm quite sure. Which is, like I said, fine. I ain't necessarily trying to take nothing from folks, because this game can highly discourage you.
Perfect. You keep this up, I would rather reviving you again.
But yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about his ass up there.
Amazing kill. They're out of ammo. They can't be revived until their shuttle returns with more. Take them all out now and you'll win the battle.
But yeah, I mean, typically in this mission, they got these overpowered dudes running out there. You know, like I said, when you have an antagonist, it seems like even in the MMR30, they lower the difficulty of the ads, because typically the ads are far more aggressive on that mission. But like I said, I wasn't in it to win it. But yeah, the other thing I can't stand is this groveling chastisement that this bad guy boss or whatever, who's sort of giving you these commands or whatever. I mean, you know, when you really do bad, they do all these bizarre, self-servient, groveling mannerisms for your character, you know, and the guys just berating you the entire time. To me, they push the envelope with it. They really do. It's not necessary to take it that far. I mean, it's a really in poor taste. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the video here with that. You know, I'm gonna review this and see if it covered enough points. I mean, you know, there are a lot of videos and a lot of blogs out there, and I don't know. I think I kind of got out certain things that I wanted to get out, but we'll see. I may make another video, but you know, I'll be playing this game in the future from time to time too. I have some videos to upload, and I'll have some more in the future. But yeah, this is a game to take with a grain of salt and take care with, and realize that you've got a 200 level grind to make before you actually will be competent to firmly assess just how much of a difficulty you want to handle with this game as far as your MMR rating, and when you might need to start voluntarily losing just to keep it within tolerable range, so you're not running across that big brick wall and it forcing you in that other direction. But you know, to each their own. And these load screens are just ridiculous in my opinion. That they should really have this consolidated into 1 or 2 screens versus 3, 4. You know, you got the previous screen that coming out to match, then you got a load screen, then you got 2 more freaking things here telling you, you know, what you've gotten. It's not necessary to have to go through all those freaking stages just to advance past the point. But yeah, when I get to 200 here, I'll be able to access all of the remainder of the cards. Like, it's pretty much the same thing for the other characters. Not all of them you have to get to level 200 to access the cards, but for Herrick here, his character cards require you to get all of them at 200. This is his what he call the faction cards. Um, and like I'll show you what that's about real quick too. But yeah, you can, once you've unlocked with faction points each one of these character slots, you can, again, here's where your chances and your gamble comes into play yet again. You have a chance to get, I think it's 140, 400. I can't remember what it is. One of these cards here, and then also too, they have variants of these cards with XP boosts attached to them. So at the moment, I'd like to get this card here, Lone Vigilante. For when I do, like, when I'm being an antagonist. But I doubt if I'm going to get it. I mean, and like over here, I want to get this card here, Reincarnation. But again, it'd be high and high water before I get it. So like I have 37,142 faction points. It costs me 4,800 faction points each time I want to have a reroll. So I'll reshuffle a couple times and see if I get what I'm looking for, but I highly doubt it. It's just, I mean, the odds are not on your favor. The house, like I said, this game is set up like a casino. The house will always win in the time and effort, and if you decide to put money in it, even in the money, in whatever you think you get the value out of, in my opinion, they still get more. But it's yeah, so I guess they have to turn a profit. I can respect that. I just think that they just got it pushed just a little bit too much. They just need to calm it down just a little bit in regard to how much gold is required to build weapons, how many faction points you have to get to go through their shuffle. That's if they want to maintain this same system, unless they want to revamp it and say, hey, with X amount of faction points, you get to choose which cards you want, etc., etc. There's other variations to these things that they can create, but if they want to stick with what they have, they need to lower the cost. They need to lower your investment, because the mileage you have to cover in order to be at some type of mid-max or efficiency, or you know having this the rare cards, for example, having the skill level for skill 20 level for your weapon, unless they lower how many levels you have to level up for these things, um, they they honestly need to just calm down a little bit on how they take so much from you just to get to what is considered their maximum point. Like I said, reduce the gold amounts, reduce some of these faction points, unless they want to go ahead and allow you to choose your character cards and your faction cards, unless they want to go ahead and lower the bar on how many levels you have to be before you get to your maximum skill level for your weapon. Um, really, they should calm it down. I mean, even when it comes to these XP boosts, they should lower the price on these too, because I mean, really, it behooves you to go ahead and buy them. And I mean, they're not going to go but so far. I mean, a set of 4 might last you a level in a quarter, maybe. This might last you, might get you that level sooner, but it's still going to last you about a level and a quarter, roughly. Um, and depending on how well you do with your team, how many missions you can run within a certain amount of time or whatever. But you're only going to get one. You only use one of these per mission. You get 3 at a time here, and you get 4 at a time here. I mean, like I said, for free to play, if this is how they get you to pay to play, not pay to win, pay to play. I mean, even at Forward Skill 20, having your extra whatever doesn't guarantee you jack diddly, nothing. and it's not gonna, I mean, that's the way they keep the game, I guess, balanced, but it's not fair. I guess that would be my take home point. The game is balanced, but it is not fucking fair. And I'm gonna say it just like that because it's not fair, dude. I mean, some of the shit that goes down with this game and the way that they tweak the enemies and the difficulties, how, a player could have, you know, you think they level one or tier one, but they've got 100% more brute force, 50% more resistance, 50% more armor, kicking out damage stats, unparalleled to anything that you could possibly have. I mean, when you first start out the game, that's not fair, but it may be balanced in the way that they have their combat system set up with their CQC and their rock paper scissors aspects of things, and you can still use your weapon nonetheless, even though you are low leveled. Like I said, it's balanced, but it's not fair, and they need to chill out a little bit, especially with the notion of the MMR percentage, because that relates to how much you're winning, how well you're doing at the game. That, in my opinion, should average out for most of the community at about 60 to 70% at the low end of the skill gap. Okay, and at the top end of the skill gap, or near the top rather, it should probably start to get, the way it's difficult now at MMR 40, it should be difficult at MMR 80. They should double that range, in my opinion, just to make it a little bit more friendly to the newcomer, and it more worthwhile even for the veteran, to just enjoy and not be so, you know, oh man, just over the top with ego and just angst and all kinds of extra BS, in my opinion, just because they got an MMR 65 or something. It's like, what? So 65% of the time you doing well, dude, you still ain't even passing, bro. It's like, okay, whatever. But like I said, I don't understand the full cultural mindset or mentality behind why they decided to do this outside of perhaps the point of, we don't have a lot of content. We're trying to provide you the best of what we do have, and we want to keep you involved as long as possible. And really it's going to be to the detriment more often than not, in my opinion, because you're going to have people saying, what the fuck? Anyway, but hopefully, to me, have confidence in your product, have confidence in yourself. Don't set up easy win scenarios and handicaps just to make yourself seem overinflated. I mean, to me, it's an easy win, but and it doesn't really provide, in my opinion, a realistic challenge, even though things will be challenging. But yeah, I mean, good luck to those that try the game, and there is a lot to enjoy. Um, One last note, they do have some really cool myth and lore within what they call their universe, and you unlock your universe, which is only at 98 right now, because I'm sure they'll add more later. But some of these uh, excerpts and lore, these that's here, you do have to purchase with the corresponding faction points. But there's a lot to be had for free that you can read through and enjoy. Very informative. My hat is off to them on the lore. My hat is off to them on the creativity and even designing the aliens too. It's their, what they call their outward gene expressions. It's quite interesting. Now, when it comes to their accents, I don't know why they felt like this guy here, he got like an Australian, New Zealand. He's got some kind of down under kind of accent. It's like, how did an alien have a down under accent? How would it, anyway? So it's they do a couple of peculiar things from time to time with the game. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, take care, enjoy. Again, this is what did you say, what did you do, Sharon? My experience with the game, and achieving that milestone there, Forward Skill 20. And like I said, if there's something in particular I feel like I need to cover or want to cover specifically, I will make a separate video about that. I think I may do one about the equilibrium and a few other particular points, but I want to try to soak up what it's like to have these weapons here and just how far I can sort of take my MMR with the weapons before I make any final commentary on things. But my best fair assessment is that regardless of your MMR, you're going to probably want to keep it. I mean, regardless of your weapons and your skill, you know, your passive skills acquired, you're still probably going to want to keep it at a certain MMR just for the sake of sanity, because it just goes beyond absurd, past 50 at the moment. um, but anyway, and I hope they do something with this antagonist system that's a little bit better than what it is, because it's kind of ridiculous that the antagonist gets to spawn in 1 against 4, and the ads aren't as capable or as numerous, or as damaging as they typically are. I mean, maybe some adjustment could be made, but the amount that's made now is too little. An antagonist is definitely in the negative for the situation. Um, but they're constantly tweaking the game, so who knows what it'll be like next week. But with that, take care and enjoy. Thanks for watching.